Welcome back to Psychology Decoded. Today we're diving into a paradox that few men ever master: how to desire a woman deeply without becoming dependent on her. The Stoic Seducer isn't cold, he's controlled. He doesn't chase validation, he channels gravity. His power lies not in what he says, but in what he withholds. There was a time when seduction was an art, not an algorithm. When attraction was built on mystery, not availability. When a man's presence carried weight because it wasn't always accessible. Today, everything is visible. Everyone is reachable. And the moment something is easily reached, it loses its value. Social media taught us to broadcast desire instead of embody it. To post our hunger instead of mastering it. Men scroll, swipe, and signal, all in the name of connection. But what they're truly feeding is their need for validation. What used to be seduction, the subtle dance of restraint and curiosity, has devolved into a marketplace of performance. We perform charm. We perform confidence. We perform worth. But performance can't be felt. Presence can. Most men don't realize they're no longer seducing from power. They're seducing from lack. The difference is invisible but fatal. When you seduce from lack, you need her reaction to feel whole. When you seduce from power, you become the reaction itself. You see, the tragedy of the modern age isn't that women changed, it's that men lost the art of tension. Tension is what gives meaning to desire. It's the gap between want and wait. And in that gap, attraction grows. But now, that space no longer exists. The instant you feel desire, you text. The moment you miss her, you post. The second you're ignored, you panic. You've trained your nervous system to equate silence with rejection, instead of seeing silence as seduction. Jung said, "What you resist, persists." In psychology, this means the more you chase what you lack, the stronger its power over you becomes. Every time you pursue validation, you feed the very emptiness you're trying to escape. So men chase harder. They double text, they overcompensate. Because deep down they've mistaken availability for value. They think, if I show her I care, she'll want me. But the paradox is this: the more visible your need, the less desirable you become. Freud would call this a repetition compulsion, the subconscious urge to replay an old wound until it's finally resolved. The man who was once unseen now tries to be too visible. Every like, every reply becomes a small dose of significance, but it never lasts. Because what he's really chasing isn't her attention, it's his own reflection through her eyes. The death of seduction wasn't caused by women, it was caused by men who lost patience, who traded mystery for exposure, who forgot that power isn't shown, it's felt. The Stoic Seducer begins here, not by learning tactics but by unlearning need. In the next chapter, we'll dissect the anatomy of desire, how attraction truly works beneath consciousness, and why the man who understands tension never needs to chase it. Desire is not what you think it is. Most men believe they desire a woman, but what they truly desire then is the feeling she awakens in them. It's not her body that consumes the mind, it's the meaning the mind attaches to her body. When Freud said that every desire hides a repressed wish, he meant that attraction isn't external, it's projected. The woman you want becomes a mirror, and the reflection you're chasing is your own forgotten self. Your excitement, your vitality, your wholeness. Every man projects his anima, the feminine image buried in his unconscious. Jung warned that if a man doesn't integrate this inner feminine, he becomes her slave in the outer world. He will chase women who embody what he has not accepted in himself: sensitivity, creativity, emotional depth, and mistake that projection for love. That is why so many men fall for the same type again and again. It's not attraction, it's repetition. It's the psyche searching for completion. But desire, at its core, isn't the enemy. It's instinct. It's the raw pulse that kept humanity alive for millennia. The problem is not desire, it's dependence. Desire says, I want to connect. Dependence says, I can't exist without it. Evolutionary psychology teaches that attraction was never about romance. It was about survival. The calm, composed man signaled stability. A protector, not a pursuer. The frantic, needy man signaled weakness, unpredictable, unsafe, easily broken by rejection. That's why women respond to composure more than compliments, because composure says, "I am in control of myself, and thus I can handle you." A woman doesn't fall for words, she falls for certainty. Your stillness becomes her stimulus. Your lack of need becomes her curiosity. The more you desire her without being consumed by it, the safer she feels in your orbit. Because in that balance between want and control lies the essence of masculine magnetism. The Stoic Seducer doesn't extinguish desire. He refines it. He allows it to burn, but under discipline. This is the art of sublimation, to take raw lust and convert it into energy, focus, and presence. It's not suppression, it's transformation. Desire without mastery makes you a slave. Desire with discipline makes you magnetic. The difference isn't in intensity, it's in control. In the next chapter, we'll explore what makes that control possible, how indifference becomes emotional leverage, and why the most seductive power of all is the ability to remain unmoved. Indifference, a word that most mistake for apathy, but it isn't the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. In the psychology of attraction, nothing disorients the human mind more than a calm presence it cannot control. And the Stoic Seducer understands this. When you stop reacting, you stop bleeding power. Freud would call this the triumph of the ego, the mind's ability to mediate desire without collapsing into it. The Stoic Seducer doesn't fight emotion, he governs it, because in every relationship, whoever stays composed controls the frame. Indifference doesn't mean you don't care, it means your world doesn't revolve around response. You text when you want to, not to get a reply. You call because you choose to, not because you're afraid of silence. This is where emotional leverage begins. When you stop rewarding inconsistency with attention, the dynamic shifts. The unpredictable woman becomes the one chasing clarity, because your restraint becomes her chaos. In behavioral conditioning, what we reward, we reinforce. Every time you chase when she withdraws, you train her to equate distance with control. But when you stay centered, you break the cycle. Your silence stops being a punishment and starts becoming a mirror. She begins to feel the weight of your absence because your attention had value. The human mind craves patterns, and the moment it loses one, it panics. Indifference activates that primal tension. It tells her subconscious, "I can't predict him, and therefore I can't forget him." Stoicism doesn't tell you to avoid emotion, it tells you to avoid enslavement by it. The indifferent man is not unfeeling. He simply refuses to be emotionally domesticated. He can love deeply, but he won't beg. He can desire fiercely, but he won't lose himself in that fire. In dark psychology, this restraint creates tension, not manipulation but magnetism. She senses that you're not fighting for her approval, you're standing in your frame, and that frame is irresistible because power in its purest form is silent. Indifference is not withdrawal, it's presence without dependence. It's the realization that you can want someone without needing them. And that realization is liberation. In the next chapter, we move from detachment to expression, how to engage attraction consciously to make every word, every glance, and every silence carry weight. Presence, the quiet force that fills a room before a word is spoken. You can't fake it, you can only become it. In an age of noise, true presence feels supernatural, because everyone's attention is scattered, drawn to screens, to chaos, to the next distraction. But when a man stands in stillness, the world rearranges itself around him. The Stoic Seducer doesn't try to impress. He expresses effortlessly, deliberately, without rush. His power doesn't come from what he does, but from what he refuses to do. He doesn't fill silence, he lets it breathe. Because silence is not emptiness, it's dominance in slow motion. There's a term in psychology, emotional contagion. It means we absorb the emotional energy of the person in front of us. If you are calm, others become calm. If you are centered, they align. A woman feels this before she understands it. Your breath, your pace, your focus. When your nervous system is steady, hers entrains to yours. That is how masculine polarity works, not through words, but through energy regulation. Controlled presence is the bridge between detachment and connection. You're fully there, yet never consumed. You observe emotion without drowning in it. You lead without domination. You express interest without submission. Every movement, every word, every pause carries intent. Because the Stoic seducer doesn't seek attention, he commands it. In Stoic philosophy, control isn't about suppression. It's about governing your inner state so that nothing external can dictate it. The world loses its power over you the moment you stop needing its validation. And paradoxically, that's when the world begins to respond. Presence is more seductive than appearance, because appearance fades, but energy lingers. The Stoic seducer understands that attraction is tension, and tension is built by awareness. When you master awareness, your presence becomes the message. Control doesn't mean coldness, it means composure. The fire still burns, but only you decide when to open the door. In the final chapter, we complete the transformation, how to desire without dependence, and why the man who learns detachment becomes irresistible, precisely because he no longer needs to be. Desire is not the enemy. Dependence is. The Stoic seducer doesn't kill desire. He purifies it. He learns that love without control is addiction, and control without love is emptiness. True mastery is the union of both, warmth under discipline, fire under structure. To desire without dependence is to let the flame burn, but never let it consume you. It's to hold emotion without letting it hold you. Because the moment you need her to respond, you've already surrendered your frame. The moment you fear her loss, you've lost yourself. Most men mistake control for suppression, but suppression is fear wearing armor. The Stoic seducer doesn't repress, he refines. He takes every impulse, every urge, and transmutes it into composure, because the highest form of desire is direction. You don't chase pleasure, you channel it. You don't escape longing, you wield it. Jung would say this is the moment of integration, when a man no longer projects the feminine outward, but welcomes it within. The woman is no longer a missing piece, she becomes a mirror, not a master. And in that integration, the endless chase ends. Women feel this instantly. They sense when a man's energy doesn't grasp, when his presence doesn't plead. It's the paradox of attraction. The man who doesn't need connection becomes the one most deeply desired. Because emotional independence is magnetic, it signals completion, and completion is rare. The Stoic seducer doesn't play games. He doesn't withdraw to punish or manipulate. He simply remains whole, and that wholeness makes others orbit him, not out of control, but gravity. The art of desire is not about getting someone to stay. It's about becoming someone who doesn't shatter when they leave. When you master that, you've mastered yourself. You don't chase warmth. You radiate it. You don't beg for love, you embody it. You don't seduce by force, you seduce by peace. Desire without dependence is freedom disguised as power, and once you taste that freedom, no attachment can ever own you again. He who conquers desire doesn't destroy it. He transforms it into presence. Seduction isn't about tactics. It's about tension, control, and understanding your own mind. The Stoic seducer is not a player. He's a mirror of peace in a world addicted to validation, and peace to a chaotic mind is irresistible